The NFL landscape stands on the brink of a seismic transformation, one that could completely reshape championship ambitions heading into the 2025 season. In a jaw-dropping twist that has sent shockwaves rippling through the football universe, whispers from league insiders hint that one of the most electrifying playmakers in the sport may be on the verge of returning to the place where his legend was truly born. This isn't just another garden variety trade rumor. This is the kind of potential homecoming that could tilt the balance of power across the AFC and beyond. The Miami Dolphins, once thought to have locked down their offensive cornerstone for years to come, now find themselves teetering on uncertain ground with their superstar wide receiver. What began as a storybook acquisition has slowly morphed into a relationship marred by tension, public friction, and mounting doubt about the franchise's long-term direction. The honeymoon is over, and the writing on the wall grows bolder by the day. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, the Chiefs' dynasty continues to evolve. Yet lingering questions remain. Have they already reached their offensive ceiling? Despite their remarkable success, there's a palpable sense that a magical missing piece from their past could propel them from great to downright unstoppable. Kansas City has proven it can hoist Lombardi trophies without certain former stars, but the looming question is this: could a reunion with a once-beloved superstar elevate them to untouchable status? Part 1. The perfect storm, brewing in Miami. The situation in Miami has unraveled far quicker than anyone could have imagined when Tyreek Hill first donned the aqua and orange. What was meant to usher in a new era of offensive supremacy has instead become a cautionary tale about how rapidly relationships can erode under the relentless pressure of the NFL spotlight. Hill's recent comments and actions have created an air of uncertainty that seeps into every corner of the Dolphins organization. Following the bitter conclusion of the 2024 campaign, the six-time Pro Bowler made remarks many interpreted as a blatant invitation for the front office to explore trade possibilities. This wasn't subtle posturing, it was a point-blank statement that sent tremors through both the Dolphins building and the wider league. Matters escalated during training camp when Hill publicly challenged the role and skill set of running back Devin Achane, specifically suggesting the young back was unworthy of significant third down reps. Publicly undermining a teammate in this way is virtually unheard of and constitutes a serious breach of locker room code. Such statements don't just cause awkwardness, they erode coaching authority and fracture team unity in ways that can be almost impossible to repair. Beyond the turf, Hill's off-field controversies have cast an increasingly dark cloud over the franchise. The Dolphins have invested heavily in cultivating a positive team culture and strong community image. Yet these incidents have created distractions and unwanted headlines at the exact moment the team is striving to cement itself as a legitimate championship threat. The hard numbers from Hill's 2024 season paint a sobering picture. With 81 receptions for 959 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 11.8 yards per catch, his output represents a steep decline from the game-breaking production that once struck fear into defensive coordinators across the league. While such stats would be admirable for most receivers, they fall well short of the gold standard Hill set in his prime. This downturn isn't just about numbers, it signals a fundamental shift in how defenses approach him. Opponents have evolved, crafting surgical defensive schemes to stifle his explosiveness and force Miami into alternative offensive strategies. Without the same lightning strike capability that once made him virtually unstoppable, Hill's value proposition has shifted dramatically, and with it, perhaps the course of his career. The financial ramifications of Hill's contract add yet another layer of complexity to an already combustible situation. His 3-year, $90 million deal cements him as one of the highest-paid receivers in the NFL, creating immense salary cap strain for a Miami franchise juggling multiple roster deficiencies. The structure of this deal makes trading Hill both more complicated and more essential, as the Dolphins must reconcile their financial commitments with their on-field performance expectations. According to ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, multiple franchises are closely monitoring the Hill saga, evidence that these trade whispers are more than idle media chatter. This is genuine league-wide interest, tempered only by the collision of 3 hard truths: his recent statistical regression, his massive contract burden, and his tarnished public image. For any potential suitor, acquiring Hill is a high-risk, high-reward gamble. Teams must weigh his proven, Hall of Fame caliber resume against his recent inconsistencies, his enormous financial price tag against his current production, and his leadership red flags against his undeniable game-changing talent. This paradox leaves Hill's trade value both sky high due to his elite capabilities and heavily discounted by the baggage attached to his name. Inside Miami's front office, the dilemma is excruciating. They invested heavily in Hill, envisioning him as the centerpiece of a transformative offensive era. But the reality has fallen short. Trading him would be an admission of miscalculation, a public concession that their prize acquisition did not deliver the expected renaissance. Keeping him, however, means continuing to navigate internal discord and constant distractions. From a purely strategic lens, the Dolphins must ask themselves, does Hill's presence advance or undermine their championship blueprint? While his talent is indisputable, the organizational turbulence he generates may outweigh his on-field contributions. Elite teams thrive on chemistry, cohesion, and collective purpose, traits glaringly absent in Miami's recent atmosphere. The timing of any potential deal is equally critical. With the 2025 season looming, any acquiring team would require precious time to install Hill into their offensive framework and forge the necessary chemistry to make his presence impactful. This is not simply about adding talent, it's about adding the right kind of talent, the type that elevates a locker room rather than disrupts it. For Miami, the perfect trade partner must be one that can absorb Hill's massive contract and deliver meaningful assets in return. That narrows the market considerably. Few organizations have both the cap space and the pressing need for a receiver of Hill's magnitude. Even in the rarefied market for elite players, the circumstances here are especially restrictive. The psychological ripple effect within Miami's locker room cannot be overstated. Players are watching intently, and their confidence in leadership may hinge on the resolution. A well-executed trade that improves chemistry and adds valuable resources could galvanize the roster, but a botched attempt or prolonged stalemate risks deepening instability. Among the potential destinations, one looms as particularly compelling: a reunion with the Kansas City Chiefs. This isn't just another trade possibility, it's a storybook homecoming that could serve every party's interests. Kansas City knows Hill better than any organization in the league. They'll understand not only his electrifying skill set, but also the precise methods to maximize his output while managing his mercurial personality. The Chiefs have thrived since his departure. 3 straight Super Bowl appearances, 2 Lombardi trophies, but their offensive explosiveness has undeniably diminished without his presence. Patrick Mahomes, while still the league's most dangerous quarterback, has been forced to adapt his approach to fit a revolving cast of receivers. The results have been impressive, but lack the relentless, big play volatility that defined their early championship years. And with Kansas City's title window still wide open, the idea of rekindling that magic has never been more tantalizing. Bringing Tyreek Hill back to Kansas City wouldn't just bolster the Chiefs' offense, it could transform them from formidable contenders into the overwhelming favorite to hoist the Lombardi trophy. His deep familiarity with Andy Reid's intricate offensive scheme, his established rapport with Patrick Mahomes, and his intimate understanding of the team's culture would enable seamless integration without the typical adjustment period most blockbuster acquisitions require. Financially, the idea presents both hurdles and opportunities. While Hill's contract remains substantial, it is far more manageable for a franchise like Kansas City, an organization that has consistently demonstrated masterclass level salary cap maneuvering throughout its championship reign. The Chiefs have made a habit of retaining core talent while adding strategic upgrades, and Hill could embody the kind of calculated gamble that separates championship caliber teams from the rest of the league. From a competitive standpoint, Hill's return would send tremors through the AFC. The lethal combination of Mahomes, Hill, Travis Kelce, and a deep supporting cast would create unsolvable matchup nightmares for opposing defenses. Even with Kelce aging and a promising young receiver core emerging, none possess Hill's rare fusion of blazing speed, surgical route precision, and clutch playmaking under the brightest lights. The Chiefs' recent offensive line upgrades make the fit even more enticing. Additions like Jalen Moore and the continued rise of Josh Simmons provide the fortress-like protection needed for Hill's vertical explosiveness to thrive. A fortified line not only shields Mahomes, but also gives receivers like Hill the precious seconds required to execute complex route combinations and carve out separation. Depth chart implications would be just as compelling. Kansas City's current arsenal, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy, offers plenty of intrigue, but Hill's arrival would instantly establish a clear hierarchy. These emerging talents could then flourish in complementary roles, freed from the pressure of carrying primary responsibilities before they're fully seasoned. The psychological ripple effect inside the locker room would be overwhelmingly positive. Hill's previous tenure in Kansas City was defined by mutual respect and shared triumphs, and his return would send a resounding message. This organization is all in on maximizing its championship window. Every player knows that elite talent makes everyone's job easier, and Hill's presence would elevate the performance of the entire offense. For Hill himself, a Kansas City homecoming would offer the chance to rebuild his image while competing for championships in a familiar, stable environment. The Chiefs' established leadership, winning tradition, and proven culture could provide the grounding and structure absent in Miami. Sometimes a change of scenery isn't just beneficial, it's a catalyst for rediscovering peak performance. Executing the trade would require precise negotiation and creative structuring. Kansas City would need to navigate the cap implications while sending Miami assets substantial enough to make the deal worthwhile, be it players, draft capital, or a hybrid package tailored to the Dolphins' priorities. For Chiefs fans, this potential reunion represents the perfect blend of nostalgia and necessity, addressing a glaring need while bringing back a beloved star who understands the weight of the red and gold. The excitement around this possibility reflects a fan base eager to see its dynasty fortify its grip on the league. What makes this scenario even more enticing is the mutual upside. Miami sheds a volatile situation while recouping valuable resources. Kansas City reclaims a game-changing weapon for another title push, and Hill gains a platform to restore his legacy where he first carved it. As this situation develops, one truth stands out. The decisions made in the coming weeks could reshape the NFL power structure for years. Whether Hill ultimately returns to Kansas City or chooses another path, his next move will ripple across the league, potentially deciding who emerges as the true championship frontrunner in 2025. The pieces are on the board. The motivation exists for all sides. Now, the football world waits to see whether this blockbuster reunion becomes reality, and whether Arrowhead Stadium will once again erupt to the sound of Tyreek Hill streaking downfield in Chiefs red. Thank you guys. See you next video.